Alright guys, today we're going to do a talk about the hip hinge. What is it? Why is it important? And so on. First, an excerpt from a BreakingMuscle.com article written by Jeff Cooland, which I will link in the description down below. The title of the article is Establishing Your Drivetrain, Screening and Correcting the Hip Hinge. Everyone has the same basic movement patterns. We habitually pick objects up off the floor, squat, sit up, and perform countless other patterns. These patterns are manifested in many different ways, from daily activity to specific training, such as deadlifting heavy loads to build strength. We all have the same basic biomechanics, and while there is a correct way to pick things up, many people fail to do so. Physical therapy clinics are busy with everyone from older adults to high school athletes who have injured their backs due to improper form, muscular imbalances, and deficient movement patterns. According to the American Chiropractic Association, 70 to 85% of all people have had back pain in their life. Even scarier, back pain is the most frequent cause of general physical limitation for people younger than 45. So, what is a hip hinge, and why is it important? A hip hinge movement, flexion and extension through the hip joint, keeping a neutral spine and the knees slightly flexed. The deep squat has a relatively even ratio of knee and hip movement as opposed to the hip hinge, which is very hip dominant. This is the difference between a squat and an actual hip hinge. This positioning and movement pattern allows for safe movement in a variety of situations and provides the ability to effectively move large loads. Our posterior chain has incredible power if we harness it correctly and move efficiently. Now, that last part of the article is what I wanted to address. The hip hinge is a posterior chain dominant movement. Now, when you watch training videos for almost any job that you're going to have that talks about lifting heavy things, they're typically going to have you do a squatting movement where they will suggest that you stay away from any sort of picking up with your back. Now, the reason for that is liability. That isn't to say that you shouldn't pick things up with your back. That just means you shouldn't do it unless you are properly trained to do so. And as the statistics show, 70 to 85% of all people have experienced back pain. Most of that is from people who don't know how to pick things up correctly. Mastering the hip hinge is the most effective way to prevent this. And if you have experienced back pain, hip hinging is also the movement you're going to want to train to potentially eliminate some of that. By strengthening your posterior chain, you will remove the possibility of further injury, and not only that, but some of the problems that you may be experiencing can be alleviated because you are correcting improper movement. All right, like I said, I'll link the description to that article in the description below, along with a couple other articles that are helpful. That is it for